Vlookup is an Excel formula that looks for a value in the leftmost column in a table and returns the value in the same row. So let's look at it again, break it down into parts. So it looks for a value in a table and it looks for the in the leftmost column and returns the value in the same row. So let us now then look at the formula once. So this is the formula for VLOOKUP, as you can see, and this formula requires 4 parameters or inputs that you need to provide. So now let us look at the 4 parameters. The first parameter that we need is a lookup value. As we said, what is the value that you're trying to look for, or what is the parameter that you're finding for. Say for example, I want to find what is the value of the physics, of the grade in physics for the student ID N123. So this is my lookup value. So as we said, in the form VLOOKUP is a formula that looks for the value in the leftmost column. So it is going to look for a value in the leftmost column of this table, the leftmost column. It will then go down and try and find the N123, and once it finds it, it will then return me the value of that in physics. So table array is the array in the table that you're looking for. Column index is the number of uh, the column that you are wanting to return, and range lookup is the fourth parameter. So this is kind of, for the purposes of this lecture, we will keep it as false. We'll come to that. So now let us try and write our first VLOOKUP formula. So we will always start a formula by saying equal to. So let us say, right, we start by writing VLOOKUP. Then we have to give the lookup value, or the value which we want to look up, which is N123, then say comma. Excel prompts you then to provide it the table array that you're looking for. This is the table array, comma. Then it wants you to tell it what is a column index number that you want. As we said, uh, you will have to provide, we are looking for physics, the corresponding value in the physics column. So as you can see, I have already marked the tables, the columns, as your leftmost would be 1, 2, and 3. Here we are interested in the third value, so we will say third column, so we will say 3. And the last is, do we want an approximate match or an exact match? For the purposes of this video, we will always say we want an exact match. There are certain use cases for approximate match, but we will cover that in a later video. So here we will say false. You can just double click it and it'll come, and you will just enter, put the close brackets or put close parentheses and hit enter, and it should give you the value. As you can see, it has found out, it has gone to that, it has looked up this value in this table in the leftmost column, and because you wanted it to return the the value in the third column, as you said 3 here, it has given you the value, corresponding value. So now let us try one more example. Again, in this scenario, I am trying to find out the student ID, the grade for the student ID in maths. So let us see if you can follow along again. So I'm interested in the leftmost column, with the value in the leftmost column, and I want it to return the second column value. So here what I will do is I will again say equal to V lookup, and this is my lookup value, what I am trying to look up, and what is the table array I want to give it to. This is my table that I wanted to look up, and I want to return the value in the second column. So I want to give 2 here. Again, I will say false, and I will close the bracket and say it gives me the value of 90. So you can see, okay, couple of pointers that you should be noting. the value in the that you are looking up, or the student ID, should always be in the leftmost column. So it will not work if student ID was the second column, and so on and so forth. You should be always, the value that you want to look up should always be in your leftmost column of your table or your array. And the second thing is that your column numbers always start from 1. Your first column is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. It is not zero indexed, it starts with 1. So if you want the third column to be returned, you want to give it as a 3. If you want the second column, you give it as a 2. Suppose you wanted something in the chemistry column, you would have given a 4 here. So that is a quick example of how to do a very basic VLOOKUP, and I will just highlight it here again for you guys to have a quick look at. Again, another very interesting use case for VLOOKUP is to check if a value is present in a list or not. Now, you might have a very big list where you have hundreds of IDs and you want to find out quickly whether these IDs are present in that list or not. You can very easily use VLOOKUP to do it. So as you can already see, what I have done is I've already written the VLOOKUP formula. So what it is doing is it is looking at I'm trying to find this value in G10 in this table. In here I'm not interested in the entire table, so I'm just looking at this particular column. So this, my table here is just a column, and it is only one column, so obviously I wanted to return the first column index, and I say false for my range lookup. Now there's one more thing that I've done in here is I have added the dollar values or the dollar sign to the table array references like B, $4, $3, $13, and so on. So what it does, if I want to drag this, it will then copy the formula over into the corresponding cells, changing the first reference. Oops, let's not do that. So if you observe closely, G10, G11, G12, G13, G14, but this does not change. So very quickly I was able to find out if out of these how many are present in this list or not. Anything which says NA or gives an error means it was not there in this particular list and it gave an error. You can make this a little more prettier if you know the if-else condition. You can have an if-else outside this to give you an output, which makes it a little more readable. But in a bare bone format, you can just have a quick filter around this and say just select anything which is NA, and it will quickly say, okay, these are the things, these are the two which are NA, means they are not in the original list. So that's another use case. The third use case is to use it for creating very interactive charts. Now what I have done here is I have created a list. I have this table or a list of student IDs, and I have created this cell with a drop down with all those values, and I have these three cells which have the VLOOKUP formula and they reference this cell. So example, this is looking up this value in this cell and it is giving me maths, which is in column 2. This is looking for this whatever value is here in column 3. Oops, in column 3, and this is looking for this value in this table in column 4. Now what I can do is and this table is then plotted on a quick chart. So what I can do is I can quickly change this value in my cell and the corresponding values will change and the charts will change accordingly. So it's a very powerful tool to make a very quick way of creating dynamic graphs or tables for reports and stuff like that. So you can just make very quick graphs. You can plot very quick graphs to show people how things are varying across numbers. The other thing, the last point that we wanted to cover in this quick video was like you can also use something like what is called a wildcard lookup. So what is a wildcard lookup for VLOOKUP? So for example, let me just remove these. So you have a list which has a list of names, for example, which has both first name or last name, and you have been given another list which has only part of those names. Now you have to find out the full name by looking up this Donald into this one, and it should give you Donald out. So what we are doing is, I'll write the formula here, we equal to VLOOKUP. Now instead of directly giving this cell here, what we are doing is we are saying star within quotes. We give the ampersand sign, which says star plus, it is as if star plus this value plus, oops, and again, so it is as if we are wrapping whatever value is in this cell with 2 stars, making it a kind of a wildcard search. And then again, we are just giving the table array, and we want, because it is a single column, we will just return the first column, and we will say false. And when we hit enter, we see that it has looked for star Mickey star, it has found Mickey Mouse, and it has returned Mickey Mouse here. The last point we wanted to show for VLOOKUP is that if you have a list which has multiple instances of the same object, or you have multiple items, it will always return the first instance. Say for example, if I look for Tim in a wildcard search here, there are 2 instances. It will always return me the first instance that it finds. It will not go ahead and return all instances. So let us see that in action. So we look up and star, now my wildcard, and this, and again my star, comma, my table array, column index is 1, and false. And if we hit enter, oops, okay, no, I missed the, yeah. So here you can see that it has returned the first instance that it found, and not both of it, or not any random order. So you have to be very careful that if you do not have a unique list, it will always return the first instance that it finds. So that is all for this video. Hope this video was useful for you, and also do not forget to like and subscribe to our channels to know more about other Excel tips and tricks. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.